What's going on, everyone? Let me know if the audio is okay. As usual, you know what your job is. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what you shoot with, and also type ready in the chat. We got to bring that back. We used to do it on Twitch every week. Everyone would just flood the chat with ready, ready, ready. Where's my ready's been? Where's my ready's been? I know I'm not ready. I'm never ready for these things. That's the whole point of these, right? It's to not be ready for any of this stuff. Just to hang out low key. But if you're ready to get into this, let me know in that chat. And again, let me know where you're from. Let me know what you shoot with. What you shoot meaning subject matter, weddings, portraits, pets, sports, creepy zombie alien creatures. You let me know. You let me know. All right, we're gonna get going in a second. Store's a little noisy today, but it's all right. We're gonna, oh, you know what I forgot to do is take the logo off the screen. Hey, look at that. And boom. What is up? Welcome. Yes, Happy New Year. This is the last time we say that, okay? This is the last time we say Happy New Year, okay? I didn't think I was gonna be here today. I thought I was gonna be doing something. But you know, life has changes. So I decided to get in here and haphazardly set up and get ready for you guys. But then again, what's different between this week and any other week where I'm not haphazardly going for it with you guys? When are we ever ready for anything in this world? When are we ever ready as creatives for anything? You know? Want to say what's up to Quinn? You know, it's been a minute, but it's been a week. You guys know what's up with Quinn, so she'll be here if we start getting into any sort of shoot. And yeah, we're gonna go for it. So first of all, this is the last stream we're doing before I got to head over to Imaging USA. So before I get into any of that, let me say what's up, Hypersonic, Sean Vane, Brian. Hey, Kathy, I'm glad you could join us. What's going on? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so just so you know, if you're going to be in Nashville with the rest of the industry for Imaging USA, which is the first trade show of the year. It happens I should say first photography trade show of the year. Of course, CES is going on, but that's a whole nother ball of wax. If you guys want to see what's new with Fitbit or whatever, knock yourself out. But if you're here for this, Imaging USA is a place you want to check out. Professional Photographers of America is the organization that puts it together, and you should definitely check them out if you want something like gear insurance, legal documents, support as a business owner, support as a photographer for your technical, everything. I think that I don't quote me on this, but I think I pay like $350 a year, $350 a year, and I get about $15,000 in gear insurance through Professional Photographers of America. You also get a magazine that keeps you, a physical media that keeps you clued in on everything, but also Imaging USA, which is this massive gathering. If you have been following me and you've ever seen me on a stage with like a massive crowd, odds are it's Imaging USA or WPI. So this is a really cool place. Even if you just want to be around other people in your own species and wavelength, so that you can just, you know, rub up against someone that understands when you say something about depth of field, they understand what you're talking about. Or, you know, you have a lot of questions about decisions you're trying to make with gear or technique or your own business or just being a creative or trying to grow in this industry or whatever, or the future of this industry, where things are going. It's good just be around it, be around the terminology, be around the people that are talking about it. You know, you see how people have their cameras set up, all sorts of stuff. Like you want to go kick rocks, you got to go where they're kicking rocks. You know what I'm saying? So Adorama is going to be there. And as always, Adorama has the best demos, I think, on the show floor. I know I'm biased on that, but booth 233, if you're going to go there, booth 233, make sure you stop by. All these sponsors are going to be part of the booth, all these brands. So they're going to be represented inside the booth. I think this might be the biggest booth that they're doing so far, but check out this line of demos in the booth. Jennifer Stitt, who is in here doing photographing couples and going through lens selection with that. Gary Hughes, the man of headshots. I mean, he's been crushing it in the headshot world. Also, one of the funniest guys, the most relatable guys, I think, and genuinely a great educator, one of my favorite. Meg Lokes, who does really high creative portraiture with her kids and does like really narrative scenes with them. Really, really cool photographer. You got Jeff Carpenter, who has been in here, a really technical guy, has probably posted more setups online than anybody, I think. But he's solid as a rock. Johnny Edwards, who you saw in here, who goes through a lot more of the artistic side of things, the philosophy of the portraiture. Ian Spanier, who does a lot of lighting setups as well, but he is more practical, I'd say. So if you're looking to kind of get the most out of setups, he's one of those. He's a good guy for that. Will Cadena, who charismatic as all hell, but he was on Call with Creators. You get a sense of him, but shoots bodybuilding tournaments, engagement sessions, weddings, everything. Susan Stripling, who has been around the wedding industry forever and is a well-known educator and was I think, if I'm remembering this right, was one of the top 100 wedding photographers listed in American Photo at one point, something like that. A lot of awards, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm batting cleanup after all of them. I'm batting cleanup in that booth with Lighting on the Fly, which is basically my DIY demo where I just use whatever to make light happen. And I'll be using flashpoint lighting in the booth. However, I'm also on stage. Sorry, there's like people yelling. However, I'm also on stage and I'll be shooting with Pro Photo on that, but I'll be doing my narrative scene demo mixed with sculpting light. Okay, so make sure you stop by booth 233 if you're going to imaging. I think imaging starts on the 10th, maybe 11th. There's pre-con classes, then there's the conference opens, and then there's like, which is where there's a trade show floor and all that. The pre-con classes, I think, are the more like all day, intensive, serious. You're there for longer. Like I did one with Joe McNally. Oh man, I feel like texting Joe. We did it in, I want to say Dallas. It was like 8 hours. If Steve Meehan is in this chat, he was in that class and he'll tell you what a pre-con class is all about. But that's like extracurricular. But if you just want to go for the show, you'll get a lot out of the show. What's going on, Kristen? How are you? Mike Carball, how are you? All right, so that's usually I go over what the events are for the week. Well, that's it. Like we have packed up a bunch of gear, packed up a bunch of things, packed up a bunch of humans, and we're heading out over to Nashville for imaging. Excuse me. Where are you going? I'm live right now. I can't help you. Anybody with a blue shirt? Anybody with a blue shirt? Sorry, buddy. So let's get into some of your questions. So I saw Kathy's in the chat, and I think I saw a question come in from you. If you don't know, before I go live, like a day or two before or the day of, just to get some momentum for these streams, because I never have a plan, on my Instagram, I post a question sticker, so consider following me there. Guys, you are quiet. What is going on with this? How many people are in this chat? What are we doing? What are we doing now? What is this? Oh my God, YouTube and your stupid changing of the interface is driving me nuts. Has anybody else been dealing with like a changing interface? What's going on, Robin? How are you? Destination of these 3 files. Oh my God, what is going on here? Skip these files. Okay. Hey, what's going on, Edgar? All right, so Imaging USA. Oh, I should say Ab Cisse will be there, who is an Adorama host. Gary Hughes is going to have, I think, a stage class as well. I think. I'm going to be on stage Tuesday the 13th at 10 a.m. I want to say that's my time slot. So if you are going to imaging and you haven't seen like a trade show demo from me, just to make it super clear, I make sure my trade show demos are something I don't do anywhere else. And they're also right there on the spot. I don't show slides. I don't talk about myself forever. And they're always different. Plus, I make sure it's something that you couldn't just watch a YouTube video about. I'm not a big fan of like, let me stand up here and show you a bunch of slides while you spent a ton of money to be here, traveling to a city you're not from, you know? Okay, so that plug is done. And of course, there'll be special deals at the Adorama booth and all that other stuff. So, and don't forget about trade-ins. I know, I'm gonna get out of this, I promise, but if you're going to Imaging USA, you will get some specialness with the trade-ins at the Adorama booth. So make sure you book an appointment. Check out this link for the full details. All right, I'll put this in the chat and I will pin this in the chat. Make sure you check that out. If you're going to Imaging USA or if you're getting a last minute ticket or whatever, I don't know. But if you're going and you've been looking to trade some stuff in, that's a good place to do it. I'm just saying, okay? All right. Also raffles, lots of raffles. You guys know that. I think a lot of you guys have seen a lot of our raffles over the years. Okay. Let's get into your questions. Just so you know, I'm having a lot of neck problems today. I can't turn my head to the right, so I'm going to do my best. But what else is new? Something is always broken on me. I'm going to look like Wes soon. Look at this guy. Unbelievable. I'm breaking. My body's breaking like you, bro. It's all right. We're pro wrestlers at heart, right? You know, this poor guy. All right. So your questions, I put up 2 question stickers. I didn't really look at them, but I think there's been some pretty interesting questions. I'm going to do the ones that I don't think need a live demo first. So Hypersonic, are you in the chat, Hypersonic? Maybe My Monkeys. I got to understand what that screen name is about. Maybe My Monkeys. Do you have a YouTube channel about monkeys you own? That'd be unbelievable. So Hypersonic, which if you're the same Hypersonic I'm thinking of, you asked some pretty offbeat questions here. You're asking what are the pluses and minuses of using USB-C versus Ethernet while tethering. So, you know what, I should have brought my Z9. If you notice, there is Ethernet connections on higher end flagship cameras like Z9, A9 IIIs, A1 I believe has, I believe the R1 as well. All the flagship stuff, all the pro bodies have an Ethernet port. And not to say that you couldn't do some sort of Ethernet to USB adaptation or whatever, and then run an Ethernet cable out as a quote unquote tether. The thing is that I would love to use Ethernet for everything because it's literally if you don't know what an Ethernet is, it's that click in jacked cable that gives you internet, right? It's a phone line cable basically, right? Like not really, but that's the physical of it. What's great about it is it clicks into the body and it never rips out. I mean, it can if you really want to, but it's very, very rare that it'll rip out, and it can run for lots of length, and it can handle a lot of data because it's literally Ethernet. The issue isn't the camera or the cable, the issue is where it's going to. So while Ethernet can run for like 100 feet and be amazing, the only times that a software is going to pick up that you're connected via Ethernet is a wire service, some kind of FTP type protocol, right? Or which is what pros are doing for sports photography, the Olympics, news, wire, press, stuff like that. But also, it's usually their dedicated software that works with it and not something like Capture One, for example. And Capture One is an industry standard. USB-C is what it recognizes. But the reality is USB-C is what's the universal adopted connection that will be talking and creating that handshake. If you want Ethernet to work, I know I think Nikon and Canon specifically, Nikon and Canon specifically, you have to use their specific software like Nikon XT or whatever, NX Studio, whatever. NX Studio, that's what we call it. And that's not such an industry. That's very like, that's very like, I don't want to say niche. I guess semi-proprietary. Does that make sense to you guys? Like while every brand has their own software, not every workflow or workspace or client that you're working with will want to work with you in that software space, right? So I would love Ethernet to become more of a standard, but it would make camera bodies larger. You also can't charge or run power to an Ethernet port. So you're adding a port to a camera, again, making it larger, another connection to a processor, another thing the processor has to handle, things like that. So you'll only see it on higher end bodies, and therefore, because you don't see it in the mass market on the cameras, you're not gonna see software play nicely with Ethernet as a connection, and therefore we go with USB-C, which is the most universal of to date of all USB that can handle high data rate, can go for about 32 feet with a repeater built into the cable. And you can also charge and power from, which is really great in this area. I can't tell you how much it saved me from having to not carry chargers around or just run power while I'm filming video. Every camera you have in here is run off of USB-C power. Yes, there's a battery in the cameras, but it's off USB-C power. Back in the day, which was like a few years ago, we'd have to get a dummy battery into a module connector, into a power supply, into an AC plug. Ugh, sucked, you know? Do I think Capture One will offer Ethernet support in the future. I wouldn't take it off the table. They just have to hear enough demand for something to want to code it to do such. The problem that you're going to run into is, I don't know if it's camera specific, because when you have software companies like Capture One, I'm sorry, I'm having like a rough, I feel like I'm always rough for you guys. The problem is that when you have cameras talking to a third-party company like Capture One, they're paying licensing for you to plug in those cameras. So if you ever notice, when you have a brand new camera and you plug it into Capture One, it'll say, do you want to register this camera? Hit OK. When you do that, someone's paying somebody to use the thing, right? That means that they would pay twice over for every camera if the Ethernet is another connection that they have to pay for. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that is a thing. I just know that it's not as easy as we think it is, and there's reasons, right? If it becomes more standard with Ethernet, I don't know how much longer we will see Ethernet in cameras, to be honest with you. A lot of them want to push for wireless, some sort of wireless system somehow, some way. Cloud services, Fujifilm, Lumix will let you shoot to frame IO now, right? And USB is just making such massive strides in being reliable and everything else. So I don't know. We'll see what the race is, but I do think Ethernet just isn't a priority for the mass majority of photographers, and therefore it hasn't been brought up in discussion. If it's something you are passionate about and you say, this would be great if I could have it, leave it in the brand comments. Leave it, go on, talk to them on the social. Get that discussion going. Go on message boards, and maybe there's people that don't even think about this because they don't have Ethernet ports in their camera. Why would they think about it? But if they did Ethernet to a USB-C adapter, does that work? Do you want to worry about an adapter? It's another point of failure, which I am not a fan of. And you don't even get the luxury of having a lock-in cable, because the USB-C, where the adapter goes, will just come out anyway. So what's the point, right? So it's like, I don't know. So Kristen's asking, the cylindrical thing on the tether cable, is that a repeater? If it's built in, let me see if I got a cable here. If it's built into the actual cable itself, let me see, hang on guys. I had one, but I bet you I shipped it out to imaging, because actually, you know what? Let me ask one of these guys to grab me one. But if it's within the actual cable itself, it's built in there, then you will, hey, Marav, can you grab me a USB cable, the long one that has the thing in the middle of the, like the super long blue, or I'm just gonna do it. I'll be right back, guys. I'm just gonna grab this cable. So pretty much what you want to see a repeater in the middle of the cable so that you're not losing connection via a 32-foot bingo. Oh, of course it's try. All right, I'm gonna wait for Sean to bring me this thing so that I can talk to you guys about it. Sorry guys, I know I'm off camera and it's weird, and it's locked on a peg. We'll get to it though. Okay, I'm back now. You can relax. What that's basically doing is making sure the signal stays stable and consistent. Thank you, Sean. Everybody say thank you, Sean. So when you look and you see these boxes, this is probably not the best example because it's black on black with more black. But if you see these little boxes in the middle of the line of a cable that is longer than 16 feet, it's basically a repeater. It's basically taking the signal and then jumping it again so it can go the next distance. Some of them are powered so that they stay even more stable if you want to plug in power to the middle of the cable. There's all sorts of configurations, okay? Boy, I feel like this was one of those boring chats I could have come up with for you guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Wasn't there one time a wire-free option for tethering? So Cam Ranger's been out for a long time. Tether Tools did something called AirDirect for a little bit. But in the end, the camera companies themselves have been working more towards the Wi-Fi chips in the cameras themselves working at a power that can be usable and reliable and that people might actually want to use. There's also a lot of systems that let you plug in a phone into the USB. I think almost every major brand lets you do that now. So, you know, the thing, yeah, Kristen, the thing is, once you get over 16 feet, you need, for USB-C, you need some help to get it to go even further than that. Okay. All right. Seth needs some advice planning a shot, setting model standing on a crosswalk. Tony, I got 2 other questions. Run that back to me when I get through these. Throw it back in the chat. We'll talk about it. Okay, buddy? Sorry, guys. Okay, so Kathy, I'm going to need you to explain this question to me a little bit if you're still in the chat. Kathy's asking, is lighting for snow similar to lighting for high key? So now my question to you is, what do you mean by that? Because if you want texture on the snow, then no, it is not the same as high key. High key is when we shoot a white background and it is obliterated and it's almost like a color block of white. There is no texture, there's no detail, it's just white, bang, high key, right? No, Tony, you don't have to delete it. You just throw it back in later. You can keep it in there. Because now I don't even know what it was. So when we were talking about shooting in snow, your question really is about, well, what do you really want to see information in? Because once you start treating snow like it's high key, then we don't have an environment, right? So more often than not, when you're photographing someone in like a snowy field or whatever, the background will go overexposed because you are exposing for someone's skin tone, which means you're probably going to lower the exposure for this rather than keep it low, keep it for the, you're going to raise your exposure to keep the face exposed, which means that the white reflective snow goes overexposed, which turns out looking high key or whatever. So if you still want texture, you might want to slightly underexpose a little bit to see it, because once those highlights are gone, they're gone forever. So I would rather you expose a little bit under for the snow to get some of the texture, and then in post raise up some of the exposure on your subject. Or this is why we light, right? We set our exposure for the environment a little underexposed till we see the snow the way we want to see the snow. Then we bring in a strobe, and the strobe is on exposure that we set for the snow. So now we have a matching exposure, because now we're not just relying on the ambient light, we're exposing for the snow and the ambient and then bringing in our strobe to match. Boom, we got a shot. Does that make sense? So it's very easy to make snow into high key, and I think you probably see it a lot for 2 reasons. One being what I just said, where you're exposing for the person and the snow will overexpose. The other reason is you lose detail when things are out of focus. Well, guess what a lot of people do when they shoot outside and do all these, they go to the widest aperture they can get because they want that bokeh. Oh, they want the bokeh. Well, the blurrier that bokeh, the less texture you get, the more it looks high key, right? So it's a little bit of depth of field. It's also a little bit of exposure issues. But if you think about it, if you're closing down that aperture to bring down some of that exposure on the snow, you're closing your aperture, you're going to be gaining depth of field. So there you gain texture in the snow from both the exposure setting and a byproduct of that exposure setting being greater depth of field by closing down. Now, if you close down, let's say you're at f5, 6, whatever you want, something not too closed down, and you bring in that strobe, now you have textured, properly exposed, not properly, but like nicely exposed snow, which don't forget, snow is reflective. It's not just white. It's literally reflecting light as well, okay? All right. Did that answer your question? Oh, hey, Heidi, how are you? Happy New Year. Did that answer your question? Okay, the other question I got was, is Dan in the chat? Dan Arango, are you in the chat, buddy? Man, I don't know why I'm so banged up, man. I am in a lot. Oh, my neck is not doing okay. All right, cool. Okay, so Dan Arango, I don't know if you're in the chat, but we're going to go to your question anyway. How do you analyze someone's face to determine the lighting that suits them? Well, what I do, and I can only speak for myself, right? What I do when I'm looking at someone's face and I'm trying to decide, like, how do I want to light this person? The real question is, what is it about this person I want to bring out? And what is it that I could bring out that would show who this person really is? What portrays them? You know, you could look at someone and go, man, their skin's really weathered. We better glamorize them. If I took a deep sea fisherman and threw him into a glamour setup, it could be funny, it could be fun, it could be kitsch. Or do I like to bring out that chopped up skin, that peeling, that age, that weathering, that hair that's just probably not too ideal for a glamour shot, or the broken blood vessels in the skin? Or do I just eliminate all of the color altogether and make you focus on the texture of the wrinkles in the skin from all the 8 years of experience that he put in, right? So like, it's not so much the features of the person, like they have a this type of nose, I will use this light. It's more like, does that nose make the person? Do I really want a light for the nose? You know, a lot of times we focus on eyes, right? And you've probably seen me be a sucker for eyeballs. They're tattooed all over me for a reason. I'm a sucker for eyeballs. My last model for, what was the name of that demo that I did the other day? Evolve the Portrait. Kate, I think she has beautiful eyes, but I know for a fact she's gonna show up wearing colored contacts. Colored contacts do not light like actual eyeballs because they're literally a plate of screen printed optic in front of an eye, when an eyeball actually takes in light and bounces around inside that iris a little bit, okay? So I know right there what I'm gonna get is more of like a spot reflection rather than really lighting an eye. So I take that off the table. And with Kate, I go, I really like how she has such prominent features. And if you guys want to know what I'm talking about, I'll put the link to this demo in the chat. But the reality is, it's not about the features and makes me want to light. It's about what is about the person that makes me want to light them, or like them to be. Adorama events, evolve the portrait. What about that person? What about that person's, the aspects of that person that I want to bring out, and then I attack it with the lighting techniques, you know? Let me see, share, copy link. Wow, this internet is just struggling today. Okay. Hey, what's up, Gordon? How are you? Your neck is not doing okay either. So yeah, I got this like crazy knot under my right shoulder blade that is just not letting me play nice. So that's my demo from the other week. If you guys want to check that out, I'd appreciate the views and I appreciate the likes. If you guys could, you got about 60 of you, about 20 likes. If I could jump those likes up, I'd appreciate it. And again, I want to thank you guys for sticking with me on this. I know these streams are like for the dedicated, those of you, you know. You never knew that about colored contacts. Well, think about it. Why would colored contacts photograph like actual eyes, right? It's in a sense, it's a substrate over an eye with a printing on it. Your eyeball is a membrane with all this three-dimensional, luscious, light transcending tissue that light's completely different. And everybody's eyes light different. There are some people's eyes that no matter what you do, and I don't care what any camera brand or lens company tells you, their eyes just will not look sharp because of something that's going on with their iris and their membrane and all this stuff. There's just something about them, right? If you guys want to check something out that's kind of, I don't think is too scientific or real, but it is kind of fun to read up on, is iridology, where they study all the textures in your iris to tell you everything about your health. It's pretty interesting. But I don't know how much faith I'd put in it. But it does, when you look at those kind of subjects, you see so many different types of irises, and you start realizing like what's what, you know. I did a photo for the Sony. Wow, what was that lens? The Sony macro lens. Oh my God, what was it? The Sony Adorama Sony macro lens. This, I'm probably not going to find it now. But what I did with that lens was I shot someone's, oh, I did, there it is. Oh no, it was for a Sigma lens on 5 years ago, that was already. She she was this model that had really beautiful blue eyes, and you see me like literally like right on top of her eyeball, lighting these eyes the best I can in a really short frame of time. But let me just see if this is the one that I think this internet is struggling because we are streaming. Yeah, so this, let me see if I can get this to get to the macro part. Where is the macro part? Yeah, so right there, you can see how deep that iris actually is under the membrane of that eyeball, right? So now think about it this way. If there is a contact lens over that membrane, first of all, it's bowling out. It may be transparent, but it's not the same as tissue. So it doesn't light the same. It's just not the same. All right. This isn't even in 4K, is it? Let me see what this has. This is in 480p in all its glory, guys. I'm not going to try to get 4K out of this. If you guys want to watch that video, I'll put it in the chat as well. Copy. I'll put this in the chat as well if you want. Oh, hey Dan, did you get my answer to that? All right. It's a cool question. That was a very cool question. I like that you're thinking that way, you know? I think a lot of people, and we're about to go to Imaging USA, and do you have any idea how much yelling I'm going to do at people in these audiences? Be like, stop just doing the thing with the same thing and the same thing over and over again. I want people to think deeper, and that's what my demo is about on that stage. They told me I got about 700 seats, so, but this is nothing new. I think this is my 6th year on imaging stages. One of them wasn't even a stage, it was a 7-hour live stream. This will also be, I think, my 6th year at WPI. So this, I will say, not that you guys asked, but shooting on stage in front of 1,000 eyeballs, dissecting everything you're doing, while you're doing it on the spot, and you better go 8-ball corner pocket kind of thing. It's an experience, and I like how sharp it gets me. And it definitely is just a rare experience for any photographer to be in a situation like that. So I thank you to Imaging USA. Thank you to you guys for filling up my seats. I appreciate it. I think Dan, weren't you in one of my Dan Orango, weren't you in one of my classes? I know Kathy was. I never considered photographing colored or patterned contacts as being different. Oh, it's not only different. You guys have to remember, I have to shoot a lot of zombies and creatures, right? Well, when you look at the, let me see if I can find this Halloween demo. When you shoot contact lenses that for the FX industry, they're not even meant to look like, let me see. Look at these contacts. Where's my thing? Look at these contacts that I had to shoot, right? Look at this. That is a plate. That is not trying to be an eyeball there. That is a plate of substrate, you know? That's actual eyes. Look at that. That is just a plate of substrate with silkscreen on top of it. There is no way it's going to light or come off the same way as an actual eyeball. It just can't. It's not the same thing, right? So I spent a lot of years, look at this. I spent a lot of years photographing, look at this, contact lenses in the special effects industry. So, you know, but then when you get an actual eyeball, look at the difference in that actual eyeball, you know, versus contact. Look at that, right? And colored contact lenses that look human are no different. This is Marissa's actual eye. Look at how different that looks compared to a contact lens, right? This was from the Nikon D850 launch, by the way. That's how long ago that was. That was out of a prototype D850. If you guys want to check out that video, that's one of my first videos ever on the channel. The difference is crazy because it literally isn't the same thing, right? We're talking about I don't even know what contacts are actually made of. I think they're a polymer, right? And I don't know what the silkscreen ink that they use for them are, but they literally are something in front of the thing you really want, you know? So when Kate comes in here and I shoot with Kate, I know she always has contact lenses and she always looks amazing. I love Kate so much. Do I have pictures of Kate? she's in the Z52 video, and that I wish I had the photos from that demo in my computer. We'll talk about them next time. If you guys remember and you want to talk about it next time, we can talk about it next time, okay? When people are as real as you, oh, I thank you, Heidi. I really appreciate that. Tony, Seth, you bring your own gear to trade shows, or do they provide gear? It's kind of a 50-50 thing. I always bring my own gear because I want to know exactly what I'm working with. And on a high pressure situation like that, I'm doing something highly technical. I don't want to try somebody else's stuff. I've even been at trade shows where like, no, they're brand new out of the box. Here you go. And then you turn them on and the firmware is like a year old and they're not working right. So then you're on stage eating up 10 minutes out of the hour that you have just updating firmware while you're filling time talking. Not cool. Like, I want to know what I'm working with. So I bring my own gear. Typically, I weighed it last year. I have about 150 pounds of stuff on me for trade shows, but I will absolutely hit up the trade show and be like, I need 5 C-stands, these kinds of arms, this many sandbags, like that kind of stuff, like grip. And I check the brand of the grip they're going to give me, because I've had, I'm going to say, some brands that nobody's really familiar with be the grip at shows, and it just wasn't safe. So I end up pulling out my own stands and making things happen. Or I run to that show floor and I go see some of my guys like Martina Matthews. I'm like, yo, let me borrow some stuff. And he's like, yo, bro, here you go. And then I go run to my stage, do my demo, and bring it back, you know? So this trade shows is like this weird little ecosystem of pros just trying to put Band-Aids on each other. You know, like, hey, you got a thing I can use? You know how many times people have had to borrow my tether cable? They just like, hey, can I, you got a table I can borrow? I'm like, oh, what camera are you using that's burning out cables? Or what cables are you using, I should say, you know? It's interesting. It's definitely, you definitely got to plan it out, what you're doing, what you really need, how much you can carry, what you can fly with, what you can ship there, what you're going to come back with. You know, I usually give out all the stuff that's expendable. I give out, you know, the plastic sheeting or spray bottles or the bags of balloons and pizza boxes. I'm just always giving them out, you know. When you were at Shutterfest last year, you yelled, stop using the gold bathroom. I'm glad it's not just Shutterfest. Well, so I think what happens is when people are, especially when people are growing, they emulate. And that's cool, because when you emulate, you break down how they did the thing and you go for that result. And now you know how to get that result. What I'm trying to get you to do is stop going after that result and show me another result. You built your technical around. Now build yourself, you know? And I always try to tell people, like, yes, the shot looks nice and you probably feel proud that you got something that looks like something other people admire, right? But how do I know that's your shot? It looks exactly like 12,000 other shots. That's why I'm just kind of so bored of smoke and RGB lights. And it's just like, got it. Can we move past this? Just like everyone was using smoke bombs in early Instagram and then pro mist filters. And it's like, yes, all these things exist, but like, can we do something different? Apply it proper, like not proper, but just apply it so that I even care to look at it, kind of a thing. You know, it's just enough, you know? And if you're going to shoot by those gold bathrooms, if you know what I'm talking about at Shutterfest, show me a way of doing it or some reason of using it that gives me a result that, one, you needed to use those gold bathrooms, and two, looks completely different and elevates it, you know? Is it worth getting a light stand with a built-in boom arm, or better to get them separately? Are you talking about a combo stand? Like can you give me an idea of what stand you're talking about that has a built-in arm? I'm of the camp that I want everything to come separately, so I always have an erector set and more versatility with my gear. But there's reasons for everything. There's use cases for everything, for sure. Especially if it's something like, I want to save weight, or if I'm trying to, you know, whatever, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, what tether cables do I use? Right now, I go in between two companies. I use Luna LVNA, which is this company right here. They've been pretty solid for me. And of course, the OG tether tools. They just came out with the Optima cable. The Optima cable it doesn't send power. So the idea is it only focuses on data. it should have more longevity and durability. I haven't heard of any failing since that cable came out, and I think they're 32 feet long. But they, it's tether tools, right? Like, why not? You see an orange cable, and you see that T on there, you're pretty much good to go. I just think another alternative is LVNA Luna. I've been digging their cables. That blue cable you might see me use sometimes, that's a Luna cable. But moral of the story, I don't stick to one cable. I stick to cables that until they give up on me. Then I go, okay, that's how long that lasted. Now I know. But I don't go and just buy random USB cable. I don't go buy any brand I've never seen before. I definitely do not go with something that's not from this industry, that's been worked inside Capture One with these cameras and stuff like that. I used Area 51 a while ago. The irony is I still use them at home, but for different things than shooting tethered. But they're an option, yeah. One thing I like about the tether tool cables, and I think the Luna cables, I'm pretty sure the Luna cables as well, is they carry a video signal, not just tether. So if I want to put another monitor to my laptop and all it has is USB-C, it will carry power and it will carry video. But make sure you're not using the Optima cable from Tether Tools because you're not going to get power to it. I have a travel monitor. Some of you that saw me at either WPI or Shutterfest have seen me use a travel monitor. Use one cable because it's power and video and one cable to that monitor. Not all USB-C cables do that. The Area 51 didn't do that. It is a more flexible cable. It is a lighter weight cable. They claim crush proof and all that stuff. And yeah, I used it for a little bit forever ago, but I've been using this specific exact cable here, Luna cable, for probably a year now straight. It's just always been in my bag. I just leave it in there, and I leave my tether lock on there from Tether Tools, so I'm mixing brands there. Oh, sacrilegious. But I also have Optima cables at my studio. No matter what, I have a cable. Tether Tools Optima, stashed at the studio. No matter what, I have a cable that's 32 feet long that I know will work. Buy a reputable brand, I'm done. Luna cables in my bags, I'm good, so I just don't stick to one cable brand. But I do get rid of cable brands once they fail on me, Dollar Tree USB cables are not recommended, Mike. I'm going to just say this right now. Stop poisoning my chat room with your witchcraft. Stop. I was thinking of getting a monitor for my still photography. My eyes are starting to get really bad. Do you have any suggestions? Still? You mean street? Do you mean street photography? Shoot on a Canon R3 and your eyes really are getting bad, huh, Heidi? Because I can't read what you're writing here. I'm sorry, kid. I'm not making fun of you, but can you redo that question so I understand what you're saying to me here? Okay. Sorry for possibly throwing off your flow. That's all you guys do is throw off my flow. I have no flow. You keep throwing monkey wrenches at me. That's the whole point of this. If this wasn't a mess all the time, I don't think I could do it. I have to live in chaos, guys. I can't. You don't understand. If you've been to my demos, you understand. I cannot live in organization. I just doesn't. Oh, you're my favorite presenter. Oh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if I don't have questions, I don't have a stream, right? So this stream is going to keep going till this series of stream will keep going as long as you guys have questions, because that's kind of what I'm hoping we can build here, and nothing's more authentic and street cred level than whatever you're going to throw at me that I don't see coming. If I can get through it, then great, Back to basics. Any tips on how to best focus and keep focus when photographing subjects in the dark using flash with little to no ambient light to use cameras, autofocus or manual focus? So first of all, are you currently using autofocus and it isn't working? Two, what camera and lens are you using? If you're using a lens that doesn't have generally a wider aperture, it's going to suffer to get light inside the camera for that lower light as it is. But when you guys are looking at your camera specs, one spec that's overlooked a lot is the low light, the autofocus exposure. What do they even call it? Basically, they tell you plus or minus 4, 5, or 6 stops autofocus. And what that means is if you're in a situation where you are underexposed by 4 stops, it can still focus. If you're underexposed by 5 stops, underexposed by 6 stops, it can still focus, you know? Oh, you're the polarizing gel guy. All right. Yeah, I remember that. Okay. Still photography, lots of sports, dance. So you're looking to get Heidi, you're looking to get a second monitor? So you tether to a laptop and want to get a second monitor? Is that what you're saying? You know what you could do, Heidi, is you could also rent monitors to see what you like. You can rent actual studio monitors like ISOs or something like that. You are not the only person not using back button autofocus. I am not a back button autofocus guy. It drives everybody I work with crazy that has to grab my camera or they hand me their camera. It's annoying, but I've always been a half the press and use the back button to lock it where I want kind of guy. It's an old habit. I'm not breaking it now, so why bother? Why bother? So Kurt's saying, I wish Tether Tools cables are not as stiff as they are, but also understand the physics behind it. Well, I also kind of appreciate beefier cables. You know, you want to talk about a cable going to get wrecked? You know how many times I've seen really obnoxious assistants I will probably never see again take an entire cart and just run back and forth over a tether cable, twisting it, crushing it. I appreciate beefier cables. I do. All right. Especially in a high traffic environment or traveling or something like that, you know? One of the reasons I moved from DSLR to mirrorless was specifically because the camera could focus during dark receptions. Some people argue DSLR is better low light autofocus, you know? What just happened? This chat room just went all the way all over the place. Let me reload this chat room, guys, because I think I'm out of order because people are saying Happy New Year. So I think that was the beginning of the chat. Am I crazy? Anyways, I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are psyched for this year. I think we all are in for a good new year. I think we all could use a little bit of zhuzh on some nice moments. Okay, Tony, I said I'd get back to this. Let's get back to this. Model on a crosswalk, looking to blur people in the background walking while lighting her with an A2. If I use slower shutter speed with the strobe, the model can move a bit, yes or no. If there is ambient light reflecting off your model and they move, they will be a blur, just like the people that are walking and blurring. If you are trying, so there's a difference between motion blur and out of focus, right? So if you're trying to do something where you want a shallow depth of field, you're going to be going into high speed sync. If you want the people in the background to just be moving for a full few seconds and they blur from the movement, your model is going to have to stay completely stagnant and still. Even if you're using a strobe, because you're already making exposure for the ambient light. And if you didn't use a strobe, your model would still be exposed. All you're doing with the strobe is cleaning up the light that is on your subject. So it's not going to erase any motion blur. That's not how this works. So they're going to have to stay stable. Will you hedge your bet? Will you get a little bit of an advantage? Sure. Will it be pin sharp if she moves at all? No. If you're exposing for ambient, then she's part of that ambient. All right? No, the model that goes on a camera like a Ninja. Okay. I think that has more features than I need. So you just want a monitor plugged into your camera so you can physically see it larger? Why not just look through the EVF? Is that something you're just not wanting to do anymore, or you shoot from the LCD a lot? Because the Ninja, do I have one around here? You're going to gain like that'll be your screen, sure, but you're going to be adding on another thing that needs power plus the cable connection. And don't forget, if you're shooting tethered and HDMI out at the same time, you're going to run into tethering issues. So if you shoot tethered, not the way. I would recommend working with the EVF more than anything. That's probably your best bet as far as having issues with eyesight. Plus, most EVFs have a diopter on them to, hold on. Most have a diopter on them to let you kind of adjust it for, not eyewear, what do you call it? Prescription. I should know this, I wear them every day. But there is a little dial here, right? On most cameras in this era. Where is it? Right here. Right here, this little dial right here. That usually goes about plus or minus 3, depending on your prescription. Right there, right? So I don't know if that helps. I know for me and Daniel, we always struggle with these because me and him are both beyond the realm of whatever these things let you adjust for. However, we are seeing cameras come to market now that have gone up to plus or minus 5, which is pretty cool. Nice to see, you know. But I think when you start throwing an Adamus on there just for a monitor, actually, hey Joe, you over there? Is Joe Addison there? No? They do have small just monitors. From Portkeys, I think makes one. Or, I mean, if you don't need the recording ability, you can have just an interface. Hey Joe, not Adamus. Does Portkeys make just a monitor? They just do an external monitor. It's not a recorder, right?
No, they only do monitors.
Right. Portkeys, Portkeys. She's got a camera. She's having trouble with her eyesight. She wants to make the display bigger. I think an Adamus is a little bit bananas.
The Atomos Ninjas would be the monitor recorders would be an Adamus, but the Atomos Shinobis would be a really, really great option.
Yeah, but you got
lighter and they're only monitors.
You don't like the Portkeys?
I do like the Portkeys, but actually usually a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, but I think well, either way, you have options. You can do Adamus Shinobi, like Joe is saying off camera here. Portkeys makes them too, but I just think get into using your EVF more personally. I think that people overlook that as the first option. And especially if you're tethering, you do not want to do an HDMI out with a tether at the same time. You are going to run into so many issues, so many quick. But these are 4K on-camera monitors, Portkeys, and you can do the Adamus Shinobi. But I mean, you're looking at 5.4-inch full touchscreen 4K HDMI. So, but then you got to get a battery for it. You got to run power to it. You got to put a micro arm on top of the shoe for it. And if you're going to be running a strobe, don't forget, you're going to have to get a bracket to put it on that because you got to use the shoe for your strobe. Don't forget, you're making it so complicated. You know, I think I was just trying to get an easy fix. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Thanks, Joe. Oh, man. Tony's asking if EVF, rear LCD, computer screen, phone, how do you get yours consistent results, or do you trust the histogram only? I tether. Tether is just as much as I can, wherever I can, I tether. If I'm really worried about something super exposure critical, or if I'm creating a lighting environment itself, if I'm already bringing lighting, all stuff, I just tether. A laptop's easy to carry, a cable's easy to carry. I've thrown my laptop on my bag, I shoot right to that, and then I'm not worried about importing or whatever. That's, if I can't do that, like if there's been, so for example, that Sigma 200 video I did on my channel, if you notice, I didn't tether when I was on the balcony because I was recording my EVF with an HDMI because I knew that the tether would get jacked up. So I shot to the memory card and I always check the EVF over the LCD, especially with cameras that are in like the last generation. You have P3 color space. P3 color space is Apple color space. So that's generally where people are settling in on what it looks like. As far as exposure goes, I generally get it. I just kind of eyeball it, or if I'm really that psychotic about it, I will use a light meter. I'm really that crazy about it. But yes, you can totally use a histogram if you know how to read one. My issue with those is you can quickly find not all histograms are created equal. So if you are working across different cameras in a setup or something like that, like they all kind of are a little different. And it's not like the same measuring stick, I'll say. Like for example, I feel like my ZR has a histogram that's different from the way my GFX 100 has one. It just feels, I don't know, just something not the same there. But if you want consistency, just always shoot to the same end result, which I just try to tether as much as I can. And tethering is easier than it's ever been. How many times have you seen me have an issue with my tether live? Like almost never, right? Solid cables, great camera protocols. Capture One is solid as a rock, at least for me. And if there's ever an issue, I usually pull out the memory cards because usually it's the memory cards that are causing the issue. Yeah, I bought a ZR. And I bought the 35 millimeter 1.2. ZR is for that price, that is a monster, dude. That thing is dope. I like it a lot. Yeah. Tethering is always the way. Always the way for me. Why play games, you know? But I get it. If you're out there and you're like, I got a model, I'm going to run into a middle of a crosswalk. I get it. Shoot to the card, do it, right? You know, I get it. But that's like, if I have to situations, you know? Oh, cool. You shot it. How'd the ZR go for you, Brad? Okay. I think AI is being so prevalent, there'll be a movement toward unedited photos, actually getting white balance correct while shooting, and getting straight out of camera shots will rise. So we saw that kind of almost start when we started seeing a lot of makeup ads that were glossy and shiny and not edited and raw, and that was very like Gen Z focused. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think that's definitely a type of marketing tactic that people are going to want, that companies are going to want. But I do think what we're going to see is people just devaluing AI generated images to a point where they just don't want to interface with it. So when people stop getting likes on things or things shared around, because how many times have you said like, oh, look at this thing, and someone goes, oh, that's AI, and then everyone's like, oh, garbage. I think we're just going to go more and more towards that. And I think once people stop getting engagement from it and people don't make money from it, meaning if there's an AI generated movie and people don't buy a ticket to it or whatever, that's when things die off, when they don't have an ROI, you know? And I think people are also taking a stance against AI from just a planetary standpoint, the amount of power it takes to get those supercomputers to do the things they're doing, right? But what you probably will see that happen is AI used in things like e-commerce, where they just need to get a baseline image and then have it used a bunch of different ways for a product page, or which you are already seeing, to be honest with you. Or you might see like YouTube thumbnails AI generated because no one wants to waste time making a thumbnail anyway, you know, just like frivolous things. I think we'll see it push more. Well, you can say, if assuming people can tell it's AI, and I do agree, it gets harder and harder to tell it's AI, but we have to push for actual regulation that has things listed saying they are AI or they aren't. I mean, I think the EU has a stipulation on Instagram that says like if it was retouched or not, to stop people from thinking that impossibly beautiful people are really that impossibly beautiful, right? But I do think that we are going to have a real hard push of like, you need to stipulate what this really is. I mean, how many times have you seen like food that you buy and it says like, image is larger to show texture? Like they have to be super honest about what they're showing you. I think we're going to have to it's just going to get to that point where they can't use it to be dubious, I should say. I think people are already getting tired of AI slop. I just can't I just, every time I see it on something on my social, I make a point of hitting the three dots and saying not interested, because I want my algorithm to realize I do not care about any of this AI stuff. And all these people like shoving this AI artwork down my throat, I'm like, I don't care. You hit a few prompts, I don't care. And it's creepy. There's people that use found media of like, let's say Adorama videos, and just makes like a host deep fake saying something. It's creepy, it's weird. Nobody appreciates it except you that might be having fun, thinking it's joking, but like you wouldn't want something out there of you saying something you didn't say either. So don't do that. And don't put models in compromising positions using AI, and don't hurt someone's reputation or just take liberties that aren't yours with someone else's stuff. Like, it's just crazy. And as photographers, you should not be scraping from other people's work to create something that isn't yours either. That's just where I stand on it, but what do I know? I'm just a guy that shoots for a living that hopes that no one rips my images off, you know? Oh boy, we are at noon, guys. I gotta pop out of here in a minute. Okay. Last call, last questions, guys, because I actually got to get going here. We're going to be at Imaging USA for the week. I'm going to try to put some kind of compilation video out for next week so the channel stays alive. There is an all-day replay volume 2 on this channel, so now you have 16 hours of all-day replay you can play in the background, use as a screensaver, let it run while you're editing, pick up some things you didn't pick up before, all sorts of stuff like that. And you know, I'll be here not next Monday because I will be in Nashville. Hopefully I'll see some of you. If you are at Imaging, say what's up. I'll have some stickers for you. Make sure you go to the Adorama 233 booth, number 233. Ask for Teresa, say the word falafel, and get a Brooklyn reflector. You know what I'm saying? What's the minimum number of lights one should have? Is that really a question? What if I told you none because you can shoot natural light and be fine? What if I told you 100 because why not? Do you really think there's a minimum number of lights you should have? Do you think there's only an answer to what tools you should have as a creative, or what pathway to make something happen? Or setups, or methods, or philosophies? Do you really think that's a question, buddy? All right, guys, let me see. I think that's it. You guys can follow me here. I always put, if you want to stay up on the trade show stuff, make sure you follow Adorama for everything. They'll be doing stories and shorts and all that kind of stuff. I'll be posting stuff, of course. Me and Ab will be holding it down for East Coast. What's up? And I don't know how to get out of this one. I guess that's it, right, guys? Listen, be good to each other. If you're new here, subscribe. Digital printing correctly and consistently is a real rabbit hole. It took me years to master it. Yeah, especially if you're a stickler about the way things look. Absolutely. Adorama Discord, we got to get that going again. I got to put some life into it, but that's on me. I haven't been using it myself, and I really got to jump in there. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Just so you know, we are almost at 55,000 subscribers here. Do you remember when I was struggling to get this to 10,000 subscribers? We are at 55,000. That means we can get to 100,000 in 2026. Let's get that silver play button, kids. I want to put it somewhere, some way. I want to thank Quinn. And I'll see some of you. Yeah, yes, I will do the Bob Barker sign off. Yes. Don't forget to spay and neuter your dogs and cats. Yes. What a weird sign off. And it was his sign off for like 20 years. Anyway, be good to each other. I'll see you in those comments. I'll see you on this channel. And go check out the all-day replay. Go check out some past streams. Go check out my last demo, the Evolve the Portrait I put in the chat. And don't forget to check out everything at Imaging. I will see you on the next one. Be good, guys. Later. Peace.